people that I knew of and learned from secondhand. But it's tied a wee bit to a little bit of shenanigans that they made up, story-wise. So, I used to live in Jackson, Mississippi, the definition of a town with absolutely nothing to do whatsoever, which is why eventually my family moved us back to Florida. But for the time, I was going to this one very small Christian school, and I mean very small. Like, it was, I believe the maximum, like, there could have been no more than this, about 25 to 30 students in this place. I literally learned this because it was, we all had each of us had a certain learning issues. So pretty much we were the kids that no other school wanted to deal with, unfortunately. But anyway, I was about, I would say 12 or 13 years old. I was in middle school at this time. And because there were so little people at the school, everyone ended up hanging out with each other pretty much. So middle schoolers hang out with the elementary school level kids, and then we all hanged out with high school kids. Out in this little small private Christian church were woods. Why? Because it's Mississippi. It's woods, that's all. And there was, if you went far enough, you eventually ended up, most of that area was, except for the church area, pretty much untouched. Oh, and also a farm nearby. And a little bit deep ways, there was this shed. Now, we weren't, the middle school kids weren't really around, and elementary school kids weren't really allowed to go into the woods that deeply because of health issues. I mean safety issues. But they let the high schoolers anyway. So the high schoolers, they used to mess with us with little stories about kids that lived inside wells or psychos with hooks. I would later learn that they all got this from horror movies that they saw, and they just copied and pasted it to anything they could find in the woods. One of them was that there was this shed in the woods. And that in the shed, and this is what the high schoolers told us to mess with us, was that a crazy man who had escaped from a psych ward lived in there. Specifically a man who oinked like a pig. So that if you were to go out there at night, you would hear him coming after you because of the pig sounds he made. I later learned that they learned this from one of their horror movies. But at that time, we were sold on it because we were middle school kids and we would believe just about anything, or want to believe in anything because the possibility was better than the reality. So what happened was that one night, some of the high schoolers from school decided to go out into the woods anyway. They were all 16 to 18, they had their licenses, the world was their oyster. And they did the horror movie scenario that you do when you're young, like that. I'll leave you all imagine what those things are. It's called alcohol. And the funniest thing is that they did actually end up walking upon a shed. I learned all this from one of my middle school friends who had a brother who ended up going there. And so he described to his brother and all that. And so what happened was that they did find the shed, and suddenly they were starting to think, wait, what? There's this actual shed out here? Does this sound a little too familiar? So they do go out there, and what do you know? Oink, oink, oink. They flipped out, and they ran. Unfortunately, a guy had his pants down at the time, for certain reasons I won't go into. Again, I'll leave you all to think about it. But he fell down, and as the was getting a lot closer, he was just about ready to die. Except, when the sound got closer, there was no pig man. Just a pig from the farm that had gone out. And so, later on, when we were told all this, me and my friends decided to go and find the shed ourselves. So we broke the rules a little bit, and during PE we went out there. Turns out, it wasn't even that far into the woods. It was at least a 10-minute walk, and our PE was about 30 to 40 minutes. But, as soon as we got in there, and we checked inside, we realized something. This is really boring, let's go back. And that's my story.